The morning dew still clung to the grass as James went about his chores on his family's farm. At 22, he knew every inch of the land, every routine until today, when the air near the old oak tree began to shimmer like heat waves over summer grass. Through what appeared to be a tear in reality stepped a woman unlike any he'd seen. Her platinum hair floated as if in zero gravity, catching sunlight like strands of starlight. Her eyes swirled with the deep blue of distant galaxies, and her dress seemed woven from pure light. "Your world's atmospheric composition is fascinating," she said, her voice carrying musical undertones that made his skin tingle. "Though your star burns rather intensely." She moved with unnatural grace, occasionally floating inches above the ground. "I'm Luna," she continued, noticing his stunned silence. "That's the closest approximation your language can manage. I'm from what you'd call the Andromeda Galaxy. Are you allowed to be here?" James managed to ask. Her laugh sounded like wind chimes in a cosmic breeze. "Contact with developing civilizations is strictly forbidden." Her eyes sparkled with mischief. "But I found rules to be more like guidelines, especially when I encounter something truly fascinating." The way she said fascinating made his heart race. She moved closer, and he caught a scent like summer rain and stardust. Where her fingers touched his arm, warmth spread through his body. "Your species intrigues me," she said. "You're so young in cosmic terms, yet you feel things so intensely. Your emotions are like supernovas." Above them, the sky took on an unusual iridescent quality. Luna glanced up briefly, concern crossing her features. "I don't have much time. My people will notice the dimensional breach soon. But I'd very much like to learn more about human experiences before they find me." James led Luna to a hidden pond surrounded by willows. The water reflected her otherworldly glow, creating patterns like starlight on its surface. "Your species fascinates me," she said, moving closer. "Do humans still experience physical attraction? My people evolved beyond such responses eons ago." Her dress shimmered, becoming slightly more translucent. These reactions, increased heart rate, dilated pupils, they're quite intriguing. Above them, the sky took on a shimmering quality, like oil on water. Geometric patterns began forming in the clouds. "They're looking for me," she whispered. "Dimensional breaches leave traces." "But—" She moved closer, her scent like cosmic rain filling his senses. "Perhaps that makes this moment more precious." The air between them crackled with energy. Where their bodies touched, small sparks of stellar light danced across their skin. Luna's control over gravity wavered, causing flowers and leaves to float around them in lazy orbits. "Your scientists would call this a violation of multiple laws of physics," she murmured, her lips now inches from his. "My people would call it corruption of a developing species." Her hands found his chest, sending waves of warmth through his body. "What would you call it?" "I'd call it inevitable," James replied. Their first kiss was like touching a live wire. Energy coursed between them, making the air glow with aurora-like lights. When they parted, Luna's form had become less solid, more ethereal, as if she was having trouble maintaining her physical form. "Well," she said, her voice carrying new harmonics that made the air vibrate. "Perhaps some primitive responses are worth preserving after all." The barn became their sanctuary as searching patterns filled the sky. Luna's glow illuminated the space, her form shifting between solid and stellar energy as their passion grew. "This is dangerous," she whispered, trailing luminescent fingers across his skin. "The dimensional barriers are weakening. If we fully connect, it could tear a hole between realities." Their connection transcended physical intimacy. Where their bodies met, reality itself seemed to bend and blur. The barn filled with aurora lights as they created their own laws of physics. The hay beneath them began to float as Luna's control over dimensional forces slipped away entirely. In the aftermath, as they lay entwined in a cocoon of starlight, both knew they'd crossed a point of no return. Their beings had become quantum entangled in ways that no force could undo. "They're coming," Luna said suddenly, her form flickering. "But there's another way." She held out her hand, pulsing with stellar light. Come with me. To your dimension? No. Somewhere between a pocket universe created by our entanglement. They wouldn't be able to follow. The physics we created together, it's completely new. Above them, the search patterns transformed into a complex geometric net, closing in on their location. It's dangerous, she warned. We might become something entirely new, neither human nor stellar being. Are you willing to risk everything? James looked at their entwined hands, his solid flesh against her shimmering form, and made his choice. Their transition created a shockwave across dimensions. James felt his body dissolve and reform as they fell through layers of reality. Luna's presence anchored him through the transformation, guiding him to their new existence. Their pocket universe bent to accommodate their hybrid nature. James was no longer fully human, and Luna was no longer purely stellar being. They had become something unprecedented, a perfect blend of physical and energy. Look what we've created, Luna whispered. Around them, their shared consciousness had shaped reality into something new, crystalline structures that grew like living things, oceans of liquid starlight, skies that shimmered with endless auroras. Through the quantum field, they sensed others like them, beings from different universes who had dared to love across dimensional boundaries, drawn to the sanctuary they'd created. Your people have stopped searching, James observed. Luna smiled. They're studying us instead. We've proved that evolution doesn't always follow predicted paths. Love can create its own physics. Hand in hand or energy field in energy field, they turned toward the unexplored regions of their expanding multiverse. Behind them, their love story continued to ripple across realities. As their pocket universe stabilized, James and Luna discovered they could shape reality with shared thoughts. Time moved differently here, flowing like light through a prism. We're not alone anymore, Luna said, directing James's attention to quantum ripples in their space. Through the dimensional barriers, they detected others, couples who had defied cosmic law to be together, drawn to the sanctuary they'd created. Their love had changed the fundamental nature of reality. What started as forbidden attraction had evolved into something revolutionary, proof that consciousness, love, and quantum physics were deeply connected. The barriers between dimensions are becoming more permeable, James observed, his consciousness now perceiving multiple realities. Your people aren't trying to stop it anymore. They've realized they can't. Luna laughed, her form shifting between human and stellar. We've shown them that evolution follows paths they never imagined possible. Together, they stood at the threshold of infinite possibilities. Through their connection, they sensed countless other beings beginning to explore the boundaries between dimensions, inspired by their example. And on quiet nights, in a small village on Earth, when the stars seemed to shine with unusual brightness, people would sometimes tell stories about the farmer's son who fell in love with a star and became legend. The universe, it seemed, had infinite space for new kinds of love.